Welcome to Conscious Conversations, a place where East meets West, a place where conversations and ideas will challenge your minds, expand your consciousness, awaken your heart, and make you think more deeply about yourself and the world.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Conscious Conversations. I'm Anthony Profeta, and I'm here as always with my good friend and co-host, Wes Gordon. How are you doing today, Wes?
Good. Staying warm.
Good. Yeah. So it's a little cold, but we just want to say thank you to all of you who've been, watching and listening. And we hope you've had a very happy and wonderful, blessed start to your new year. How's the new year been for you? Good.
Yeah.
Good. Very happy to hear that. I hope 2021 is really a wonderful year for all of you out there. And I know how many people were really waiting for this past year to be over. So I hope it does move in a very wonderful direction for everybody. But we thought we'd talk a little bit today about maybe starting this new year by cultivating what I would refer to as really the ultimate relationship that we can cultivate, the best, relationship that we can nurture. And I believe that it's vitally important for me when I get up to sort of get to my meditation cushion or get to my spiritual practice so that I can cultivate a deeper daily connection with that essence or source that I still call God. I know there are many of you out there who are triggered by that word, but whatever you have or whatever label you want to put on that higher reality, that source of all things, whether it be, spirit, great spirit, Buddha nature, universe, consciousness, awareness, it doesn't matter to me. I just still use the term God because I believe that that's something beyond like being able to fathom. It's a word that's so mysterious to me that it just incorporates all of that. If you've been following the show, you know that we don't believe that name represents like some guy with a big long white beard sitting on a cloud somewhere, smiting people. To me, it's just an unconditionally loving, self-aware, like conscious sort of energy that I do believe is without form, either male or female. I believe it's all sort of incorporated in that as like the yin and the yang. But I do believe that a loving devotion to that essence it really helps us to nurture and begin to cultivate a direct relationship with it.
Right.
It's written that, that if we draw near to God, God draws near to us.
Right.
And I believe that love and a loving devotion and relationship, and, when I go to my meditation cushion, getting there with the sense of love towards wanting to know that, wanting to connect to that essence, really is like a magnet that draws that connection or that power to us. The Sufi mystic Rumi, he once said that what you are seeking is actually seeking you. But the truth is that in that seeking, you might have heard the statement that we need to love God with our whole heart, soul, mind, and strength. And that, I believe, is the ultimate key to forming this ultimate relationship. But some people, I think they sort of have this conception, well, how do I really go about doing that? Love this maybe formless thing that is beyond my conception and that is so hard to feel and know.
Right.
How do I really love that with my whole heart, soul, mind, and strength? So what is your take on that and cultivating that relationship?
For me, I had to dial it in. I had to take it out of the so-called Catholicism aspect of it. Okay. And it had to become a personal one-on-one experience within.
Yes.
And, the other part, the judgmental, the angry, the I'm not good enough God.
Yeah.
I had to give that one a rest.
Yep.
And I had to go deep inside and listen and find out for myself, what is that essence? What is that part of me that always wants more, that's deeper within me? And you get the answer.
Yes.
When you do that practice, when you go into the silence or pray, you reach out or reach in and allow that to express or your perception to be broadened so that you can actually experience that for yourself because it's a one-on-one personal experience.
I love that you just brought that in because I do believe that there's really no right or wrong way to nurture this relationship. I believe it's as personal as we want to make it to be. Yes. And I believe that through like free will choice, we have the ability to say, hey, I want a very intimate, direct, loving relationship with this essence that I call God as like either if you want to make it like a child to a parent or a lover to its beloved. It could be as loving and as deep and intimate as you want.
Yes.
Or on the flip side of that, we also still have the ability to say, I want no relationship with it at all, and in a way turn our back to it. But I believe that, you know, things don't always go right or smoothly when we start doing that. You know, life becomes a little bit more difficult. I believe that when I get to my cushion, when I meditate in the morning, whatever, you know, spiritual practice anyone does, I believe that sets the tone for my day. And to try and connect to that higher power before I start my day, I believe is a wonderful way to do that. But I do love that you said, you know, it's personal for everyone.
Yes.
Because just because I seek it maybe through meditation and a loving practice of that way, there's some people that might seek a relationship through reading sacred scriptures. There's some people that might seek it through chanting and singing and prayer or meditation, or some people who just seek a relationship through being out in nature. They feel that that's a way they can connect to this essence more deeply.
Right.
And so thank God, you know, that there are so many ways to connect. And what I truly believe is that truly shows us how much this essence really wants a relationship with us. Some people, you know, I've had these discussions with people and they tell me, you know, God is perfect. God is, you know, not lacking in anything. But I come back with them and I say, but wait a minute, I don't truly believe that. I believe that there is something God lacks. And that is that God lacks our love until we actually decide to give it to God. And so I feel that when we cultivate this ultimate relationship, there is this need to, or desire for our soul to give love back, because I believe that love is what really created us. I believe that the essence of God, through many different traditions, has always been referred to as like God is love, or unconditional love, a fountain of ever-flowing love, bliss, all of these sort of things. And I do believe that when you do connect and form this relationship, you do become, and I can share this through experience, overtaken by an overwhelming feeling of love.
Yes.
When you can connect to that. A love that is beyond our understanding.
Yes.
And the truth is that the love that we give becomes a drawing power to bring that love more fully to us. It's always there. I don't want people to get this idea that I'm thinking like there's a separate thing that we're trying to connect to. It's already within us. But sadly, for some reason, when we incarnated into this physical nature, this flesh and blood body, we sort of become forgetful of it. And now we're living in what many traditions refer to as this world of Maya, or illusion, or darkness. And so what we're trying to do through cultivating a relationship is nurture that flame within us, that love that's always there, that connection that's always there. I believe we wouldn't be alive if we were disconnected from God. I believe that it's the source of all things, the life force animating our bodies, all of these sort of things. But I'm not of the proponent that it's just like this inanimate sort of energy, or what I really mean is like an energy that doesn't have this sort of compassionate, like self-aware nature to it. Right. And so the ultimate goal for me in this lifetime is really to develop and nurture that relationship. But again, it's the only way that it really begins to show itself to us is when we have a love for it that is beyond anything else in this world. And as soon as we have a love that's greater for something else, I believe that by default, that greater love becomes an obstacle to knowing the true essence of God and God's love.
Yes. Yes. I've had discussions where, you know, a lot of the teachings out there today get caught up in raise your frequency, raise your vibration, or God is a frequency. And I'm like you just shared, right. I said, it's more than that. It may be parts of that, but I said, like you said, there's an intelligence, compassionate, understanding, wisdom, and knowledge that comes with this energy that touches you, transforms you, and changes you.
Yes.
Or makes you more perceptive to what your true spiritual nature is, that's covered up underneath all this confusion and Maya that you were describing.
Yeah.
And going into the silence and surrendering, which was the hardest part, allows that to be expressed to you.
Yes.
And you'll hear something or feel something or get an impression back to you.
Right.
You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, I am God."
Right.
And I want to quickly correct the fact that you may have God's essence in you, as far as I'm concerned, but to understand the part that says you are actually part of God is when that voice speaks to you,
Right.
not from you.
Right.
I think it's very foolish for people to a short sentence, "I am God." Well,
Right.
create a planet.
Right.
Whoops, that ain't happening. Just my opinion here.
Right, and that is a common theme, and we did touch upon that in a previous video, and maybe I'll share a link on the YouTube channel for those of you that might have missed that one. But when Jesus himself was asked what the greatest commandment was,
Yes.
it is to love God with our whole heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbor as ourself.
Right.
And so, again, referring back to this whole idea that if we really want to deepen that relationship with the essence that we call God, we have to cultivate a love that loves it just for itself, not seeking any reward or what this essence might be able to give us, but just for love itself. And that opens the door to a deep and intimate connection with it. But I think we need to take a quick break here. Please stay tuned with us, and we'll talk more about cultivating this ultimate relationship when we come back after these brief messages. I'm Anthony Profeta here with Wes Gordon. We're having a discussion on cultivating the ultimate relationship in 2021, which for us is cultivating a deep and intimate relationship with what we call God, and how it's been referred through in many traditions that the way to really do that is through love. That loving this essence beyond, all the capabilities of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and just loving it for love itself, is the way that really opens up the door and the channel for that deep relationship and that intimate relationship to really develop. But one thing I do want to share is that please know that there are so many people that I've spoken to that for some reason they think they're unworthy of this relationship.
Yes.
Like they feel that, it's really only reserved for like special people like saints and sages and all of these sort of beings that are so much, for lack of a better word, that they think better than them, like holier than them.
Right.
But what I really want people to know is this relationship is open to anyone. The thing is, God will test in a way, and by test, I mean, he wants to know that we're seeking him for love and not really for any other reason. So if we're doing it, if we're trying to really cultivate this relationship because we think we're going to get things out of it, then our motivation is off.
Yeah.
It's just a free flowing of love between our soul and spirit or God that really opens up this channel. Love itself, reverent love is really what counts. Loving God for God.
Yes. That was one of the reasons it was so critical for me to dial in my personal concept of what God is and not what someone else had told me or given me. Until I made it a one-on-one, it wasn't effective like you're talking about.
Right.
And then when I took in the three omnis,
Yes.
omnipresent, omniscience, and omnipotent, everything, everywhere, all powerful, and how that affects everything. Think that through and yield to allowing that to communicate, and transformation happens.
Yeah.
You melt.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And opening yourself up to allow that. And what we talked about a little bit prior is that there are many ways to open yourself to that.
Yes.
And so that's so beautiful that we're allowed to cultivate and nurture this relationship in any way we want to. So, for you, reading scriptures or reading sacred writings is a way for you to connect and cultivate a deeper relationship with that essence, then by all means read them, but read them so devoutly that it's like you and God, or God is speaking to you directly through those words. If you're praying, open your heart as much as you can, and don't go to prayer like a beggar, just asking this essence for things.
Right.
Really pray in a way that like it's a conversation and a dialogue between you and your best friend. Let the deepest secrets of your heart come out. If you're doing it through meditation, then go there with the essence, then the intention that there can and will be a voice that comes to you, that speaks to you, or a presence that enters your heart in your meditation. If it's chanting and singing, then by all means do it with such praise and devotion. King David was considered like at one time like crazy because he went out dancing and singing in the spirit in front. And I think he was even naked when he was doing it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing. And he was considered a man after God's own heart.
Exactly.
And so that's as much devotion and love and intensity as we should have in trying to connect to this source and cultivate this deep relationship in that way. It has to be that intense.
Yes. Fear binds you and constricts you.
Right.
Love opens you, and you're more expressive, and you want to share and help.
Yes.
And sometimes I have trouble with that. Being a guy, I want to pull back. I don't want to be so open.
Yeah, we're not
because,
supposed to show emotions and all those
and
sort
you're
of
vulnerable.
things.
Something could hurt you.
You're vulnerable, yes.
Yeah.
Love opens you up that way, and vulnerability becomes a big play. People are, I'm exposed.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you got to walk that line.
Right.
You've got to decide that's more important than all these trivial, temporary things.
Yes.
This is an eternal journey that you're on, and an energy that you can activate within yourself that's going to change you and everyone around you if you actually really tune in.
Right. Well, what about, I've had conversations on this topic before with many people and friends and family, and they'll say, well, yeah, this is great and everything, but I got my bills to worry about. I got all these other things. So let me go take care of all this other stuff that I got to take care of first, and then I'll worry about cultivating that relationship.
Right.
Because, it's so hard. Sometimes I go into prayer and it's dry. Sometimes I go in my meditation and I'm bored. I don't feel this deep connection. So, let me go take care of all these other things first, because, that I get a tangible result from. I go to work to pay my bills, do all this, do all that, get stuff. So, that could take a back burner. Sit in the back burner.
Yeah. You got to still be responsible.
Right.
But once you cultivate this relationship, this inner energy that starts becoming more alive to you each and every day, you have more energy to do all those things. Yeah. I've had days where I've done more than 30 minutes than a lot of people can do in a whole day.
Yes.
And I didn't struggle. It was so centered, can't say the word. Synchronistic.
Synchronistic?
Yes. That it was, I sat down after I was done, and I went, oh my Lord, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I believe you started that connection, you were connecting to that energy, and then you were just like in the flow.
Yes.
And life moves easier. So we're like, instead of being the salmon that's swimming against the current, we begin to move with the current. When we set that intention and start a relationship in that way. Another thing that comes to my mind when I do have these conversations with those people is when, Jesus said, people of this world, bread is what men of this world seek, but seek first the kingdom of God, and everything else will come to you.
It does.
And, that first statement where he says, bread is what men of this world seek, Jesus very often spoke very cryptically. Yes. He spoke in parables. He spoke in things that, unless you really contemplated, what is he talking about? You're getting only a superficial level. He wasn't just talking about like physical bread. He was saying that chasing the things of this materialistic world,
temporary things.
The temporary things is what everybody in the world does. They go seeking all of those things outside of themselves, the good cars, the good house, the good things, possessions, all of that. Not that these things are bad, but they make it the primary focus.
Exactly.
And then they become possessed by their possessions.
Yep.
But what he's saying is, listen, all of that is temporal. He also said, don't store up your treasures on earth, store them in heaven. So he was saying, seek first God's kingdom, and then everything else starts to flow and come into your life easily.
Yeah, the added things.
Yeah.
And you are supposed to use those things. It's just not becoming attached to them.
Yes.
That's the trick.
Correct. And that's a very big thing in Eastern traditions, too, non-attachment to the things that do come into our life and the possessions that we have. As soon as we're possessed by our possessions, we're actually attached to the possessions, and then life gets unbearable when those possessions either break down or get taken away from us or something happens, we begin to suffer. Yeah. And so, while it's great to have them and enjoy them for the time that we are blessed to have such things as a nice car or whatever it might be, we also have to realize that they are temporary.
Yeah, don't make them your God.
Right, don't make them your God. And that is also why we were saying before, I mentioned that, anything that we have a love for that's greater than God sort of becomes an idol.
Yes.
And so it's like your thing is now a greater love than the true love that you should be cultivating. And once you do that, it begins to stand in the way of really deepening that relationship and that connection to that essence that I've been referring to as the source of all things and God and all of that. It can be experienced in this lifetime. All of the mystics, regardless of whatever tradition, have always said that. You know, they said, you know, use this lifetime and this body now wisely so that you can connect to that essence while you're here, because it is knowable.
Absolutely. And you don't have to go live in a cave, or you don't have to be totally ascetic and just like eat cardboard and green grass and totally just be nothing.
Right.
This is about more and abundance and more energy and more life-giving life force, not less.
Right.
But you do need focus.
You do. And also, please know that this isn't just our words or the words of mystics in the past. In the Bible, it says, when God is speaking, he says, you will seek me and you will find me when you seek me with all of your heart. And in the Bhagavad Gita, which is the holy text to some of the Hindus, God speaking in that says, absorb yourself in me, be wholly devoted to me, and you shall reach me. This I promise you. So it's right there. If we deepen our devotion and love for this essence, it will begin to experience it more and more in our life. But I'll leave you just with this one story by Hinduism to really show how deep our devotion and love must be. A student goes to his guru, his teacher, his master, and says, Master, I want to know God. And the master just smiles at the disciple and says, take a walk with me. And they walk down to the river. And while they're looking out over the river, the master jumps on the student and pushes his head under the water. And now he's flailing and struggling, and he's, you know, trying to breathe. And the master's like drowning this student. And just when the master realizes that the student is about to surrender and die and give up, he pulls the student out of the river, and the student takes a big gasp of air. And the master says to the student, when you desire God, as much as you desire that grasp of air, you will know him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's how deep the devotion must be. That's how sincere our relationship must become, and how profound it must be and intimate it must be to really experience that.
Yes.
But we hope that 2021 is the year that you do come to experience God directly in your life. We thank you all for listening today. Please, this year we're going to have some guests, and next week we will have a guest on, so please stay tuned for that. We're excited to be bringing people onto the show, and we know that you're going to love them. Thank you all for your time and attention, and we hope that each and every one of your days is filled with an abundance of love, happiness, and peace.